All right, you guys, welcome back to the Bitty Bats playoffs. We are in the quarterfinals this week. Now, I told you I'd get on here on Friday night, possibly Saturday. Let's see. It's actually Sunday morning at 12:30 in the morning. So basically what happened was after the first, after Friday night's games, you had... Generally, in baseball, you'll have teams play Friday through Sunday. And then sometimes they'll go Monday through Thursday. Oftentimes it's Tuesday through Thursday. And then they'll re-up on Friday for Friday through Sunday. So as it went down, originally I was just gonna when I jumped into the playoffs here, originally I was just going to have one game determine a team's playoff fate. If that was the case, on Friday, New York was +1 against Texas. San Diego was +1 against Detroit. So they had a tie. Last time around, I extended it to get into the playoffs. The tiebreaker, the double tiebreaker, was hits, how many hits the team had. Well, I didn't even look at the hits. Once I saw that there was a tie in the actual playoffs, not just to get into the playoffs, I said, you know what? I'm going to extend this to 3 games. So it's not going to just be how one team does against their wild card opponent. Say the game is New York versus San Diego. New York's playing Texas in real life. San Diego's playing Detroit in real life. So I said, you know what? What I'm going to do for the playoffs is I'm going to have New York's entire series against Texas going up against San Diego's entire series against Detroit. And that's how I'm going to determine the winner. So, along those lines, this is basically how it broke down for each opponent, each team. In the champions bracket, you have New York at seed 1, the Dodgers at seed 2, San Francisco seed 3, and San Diego seed 4. In this a double eliminations kind of tournament, these teams, they just have to, well, first of all, they have to win the game, and then they put themselves in the best position, just like in the College World Series. Florida put themselves in a good position, and so did Oregon State. All they had to do once they got into the semifinal is win one game, and they moved on to the College World Series. So, in my league, the champions bracket, the 2 teams that win amongst the 4 are in great position to move on to the World Biddies, my version of the World Series. So, the matchup was the number 1 seed New York Yankees going up against the number 4 seed San Diego Padres. We're already 2 days into action, and I'm going to let you know how things broke down. We still have one more day to play. We got Sunday's games coming up pretty soon in a few hours. Hopefully you'll get to see this before the games start Sunday morning. I think the first game might be Boston versus LA. So here's what we had. New York played Texas. They won the first game 2-1, but then they lost the next game 1-8. So they were +1 the first game and -7 the second game. So after 2 games, the Yankees are 6 points in the hole, -6, a +1 and a -7. So they're -6. San Diego won the game against Detroit on Friday, 1-0, and then also won on Saturday, 7-3. So +1, +4, they are 5 points in the positive. So +5 for San Diego, -6 for New York. So that's an 11-point swing right there. It's looking like San Diego, unless they really choke against Detroit and New York blows out Texas, it looks like San Diego is going to move on. So then you had the Dodgers going up against the Giants. Now, for Dodgers fans, when you guys were 1-5 and it didn't look like you'd even make the playoffs or even like last that long to even have a chance at making a wild card or a playoff, not only did you not get a wild card, you actually won the division. And by the way, I'm giving you the division. I did say earlier that you were going to share the division with Pittsburgh, but since you both finished 7-6 and that game was for the division, I'm giving the division to the Dodgers. So you do have the number 2 seed outright, and you also have a division title. So congrats to the Dodgers. Anyways, their series against the Giants, they beat Colorado 6-1. Then they went ahead and beat Colorado 4-0 the next night. So you have a plus margin of 9 points. Then over with the Giants, they were playing the Mets. They lost 4-11, and they lost 2-5. So they have a negative point margin of 10. So you have plus 9 on the Dodgers side, minus 10 on the Giants side. So that's a 19-point differential to overcome for the Giants. So it's looking a lot like the Dodgers and the Padres are sitting pretty in the champions bracket. But we'll have to let those games play out on Sunday. So then we move to the contenders bracket, where you had Atlanta facing Boston. Atlanta is actually playing Milwaukee in real life. They won their first game 5-4. They won the second game 3-1. So they have a plus point margin of 3. Boston won their first game against the Angels 9-4, plus 5 points, and then they lost their second game to the Angels 6-3, so -3. So a plus 5, -3, they're still at plus 2. So Atlanta is at plus 3, Boston is at plus 2. Atlanta has a 1-point lead on Boston going into Sunday's games. Then finally, you had the Angels with the 2 seed going up against Pittsburgh Pirates with the 3 seed. LA once again was playing Boston. They lost 4-9. They were in a negative 5-point hole. Then they actually won the next game 6-3, so they were plus 3. So minus 5 plus 3, they are at -2 right now. Pittsburgh won both their games, so they're sitting pretty. They won the first game 4-3, and then the second game 7-3. So they are at a plus point margin of 5 points, and the Angels are -2. So plus 5, -2, that's a 7-point swing that the Angels have to overcome. So that's how it's going on this aggregate scoring hybrid here. You still have tomorrow's games looking ahead, and the way that looks, I'll just give you a visual of it, because I know I threw a lot of numbers at you. But this is what it looks like. You have the contenders bracket, you have the champions bracket, and 2 teams from the contenders bracket are going to make it. Right now it's too close to call between those 4 teams. And then in the champions bracket, San Diego and LA Dodgers, I went ahead and drew a box around both of those teams. They are looking good. San Diego is up 11 points on the Yankees, and the Dodgers are up 19 points on the Giants. So more than likely those 2 teams are sitting pretty. The next round is going to begin on Tuesday. But I'm going to be on here tomorrow night, and I'll give you the matchups. But basically, if San Diego and LA do close out this series, all they have to do is win 1 more series, and both those teams are in the World Biddies. And if that actually happens, they will face each other on the weekend, the following weekend. So Tuesday begins round 3, the semifinals, and Friday would begin the World Biddies. And it just so happens that the Dodgers and the Padres actually play each other in real life. So if that happens, then they're going to be playing head-to-head. No more of this fantasy matchup nonsense. So I have my fingers crossed for that. And if that's the case, the games are at Petco Park. I'm going to try to make it for the Sunday game if that's feasible. But we still have a lot of games to play. We'll see if the contenders can force maybe a second series to go down. So basically what happens is that on Tuesday, when round 3 starts, the semifinals, the contenders, they have to win 2 series against the champions. So this could push into the 4th of July weekend, or the holiday, starting on, I guess those games would actually start on the 4th of July, so that would set up for some good fireworks if the contenders can push it to a second game. Right now, San Diego and LA, they haven't lost yet. New York and San Francisco haven't lost yet either, but New York and San Francisco, they need some help tomorrow. All right, you guys, enjoy the games, and I'll get back on here Sunday night and let you know who made it to the semifinals.